I could say I could understand why cigars are priced the way they are. Not as of recent, not within the last few years. But accessories, I don't know. Accessories, to me, should never exceed the price of a high end cigar. That's straight up my thoughts and feelings on that, right? Recently, I've seen humidors, LE Blues going for $17,000. That's not made for you, and like that's not made for the common cigars, the everyday cigar smoker, the common cigar smoker, the cigar smokers that are buying bundles or buying boxes or out there looking for deals. That's not made for us. You may not have an issue with that. Me personally, I do. I have an issue with that because I think as I continue to advance my career in the cigar industry, the more I do realize that cigars, specifically here in the States, are increasingly getting pricier, and it's a hobby. And look, maybe I might be naive to everything, and you could say I'm naive or I'm not, living in the real world when I say this. But to me, a hobby shouldn't shouldn't cost you an arm and a leg, right? If you're collecting vintage spirits, vintage whiskeys, vintage alcohol, vintage cigars, on another level, vintage cars, vintage sports cards, you're going to sink some money into that. There's no question about that. And I'm not faulting anyone for that. But a hobby, like, it costs me nothing to play basketball. It costs me nothing to do other things I like doing. It costs me money to play video games. It costs me money to go to the movies, right? But a hobby shouldn't be half your paycheck. Straight up. Like, it shouldn't be half your paycheck. That's why there's certain deals, there's certain bundles, there's certain things out there that are friendly to the consumer because of everything that has been going up. I've seen a lot of comments lately on our channel about prices overseas, and they're like, "Oh, you want to complain about $17 for one stick? Try like 30 or 40 euros." I don't want to. I don't want to live in a world where we're doing that. So for cutters, lighters, humidors to be on the, and they're collector items, right? You'll see like an Opus X cutter, an Opus X lighter. They're collectibles. And like I said, no knock to anyone who is buying those things for your collection. But I'm trying to look at it as an overall cigar worldwide issue when you feel like you may have to buy the next best thing to keep up your status. I was trying to make this example to Tyler earlier. It might not make sense to most of you, some of you, but it's more so about something that was never mainstream and then it becoming mainstream to a point where it's affecting the cost of things. 12 or 13 years ago, when I was in my 20s, I gave a shit about Coachella because a lot of the bands I was listening to were going there. And then you would see celebrities attending these festivals. You don't think that's going to jack the price if you have celebrities attending these festivals? Or you look at film festivals, like, what if one day I said, F it, I want to go to Cannes or I want to go to Sundance? Are the prices going to help an independent filmmaker out? Probably not, because you have some of these high-level independent films that cost millions of dollars. At that point, it's not really independent, in my opinion. They're not going to care about little old me. And I think that's what I'm talking about. And I'm not sitting here and be like, oh, give a shit about me, care about me. That's not it. I just think the one thing I am, Nick always used to tell me, you never talk about what bothers you. You never talk about like cigars you don't like. And that's not my end goal. But within the last 2 months, I've seen a lot of articles. I've seen a lot of prices for these accessories that are just simply like just not fair. Like, they're just not fair. Gonna call a spade. They're just not fair. Me not being able to afford a $10,000 humidor, that's not a reflection on how hard I work or how much money I make. Do I even really want to, would I even want to invest in something like that? If you can afford that, if that's something you want to collect, more power to you, right? I would just love to hear what the common day, everyday smoker is thinking, because I'm not going to get a Bic lighter and light a cigar because that's a soft flame lighter. I'm going to invest in a $20 to $30 three flame lighter, single flame lighter that has the power to do that. Do I need gold on my lighter? No, because I lose shit all the time. I go through 7 to 8 pairs of sunglasses a day. That's what a year. That's why I get them at like Five Below. Like I'm not spending, like I got a pair of Ray-Bans one time for my wife. They are like protected. They're more protected than I am. Like, because I know that they cost money, and if I lose them, that's gonna suck, right? So I would never bring $100, $200, $300 lighter to the lounge. I can't bring myself investing in a humidor, right? Is a humidor producing gold? Is it bringing me McDonald's every day? Well, how is it benefiting me, right? Like, is it just because it looks nice? If it's 100 count, then fine. What are some features to it? Like, for example, certain humidors that, to me, that are worth, or cigar boxes, if you want to say, or humidors, or that are worth investing in that I've seen over the last few months. One, I'll name one, is the Romeo 150th. That box, beautiful. That box is telling a story. That box plays into the price of what the cigars are going to cost. On top of the blend, the price point for Romeo and Julieta, that factors into it. But for humidors, like the humidors behind me cost less than some of the humidors I've seen that are desktop humidors. What does that tell you? And there's not gold on them. They're not embroidered with a logo. Arturo Fuente didn't make them, or Ellie Blue didn't make. That is I believe a 600 count, or I think 1200 count, and we have 2 of them, right? And they're pretty full, and they're getting the job done, right? So it's tough for me, Chris Arangio, to purchase a humidor that's really going to sit on my end table, sit wherever I can humidify my cigars properly through cold winters, and basically it's collecting dust, right? It's collecting dust. And I just think it's a status symbol. That's where it becomes, or is certain things of the cigar industry, are they teetering too close to being unaffordable for the masses?